A class action lawsuit has been filed against the BC and federal government regarding the land title disputes. In this week's video, I'm going to provide some updates on that and the land title dispute scenario in general. And then we're also going to talk about what's happening with the real estate market as we head towards December. Real quick before we get started though, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Hasan. I'm a real estate agent in the Vancouver area, and I make educational real estate content to help you on your real estate journey. When I'm not making videos like this, I'm helping people just like you buy and sell real estate across the Lower Mainland. So if that sounds interesting to you, you want to chat about real estate with me, you can book me for a free call in the Calendly link below or on screen, and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future video. All right, I hope you had a wonderful week. We're going to jump right into it. Lots to cover. A class action lawsuit has now been filed against the provincial government, against the federal government, when it comes to not just the Richmond case with the Cowichan and the Crown, but any land title disputes that could be going on in BC when it comes to Indigenous title versus Crown and private property title. Now, if you've been following my channel for a bit, I've done a couple of videos that have more like the meat and potatoes of what's happening. I'm not going to cover all of that again in this video, so I do encourage you, if you want to know the background, to view those earlier videos. But today we're going to talk about this class action lawsuit that's been filed. There's one person basically who has had their land title affected, who's within the Cowichan claim zone in Richmond, and then there's a John Doe claimant, which, as I understand it, I've been doing some reading. That John Doe claimant would basically be representative of anyone else who would essentially be jumping into this class action lawsuit case. And what they are saying are a couple of things. Number one is a legal term, which again, I had to look up, called misfeasance. And basically what that is saying that the Crown, both federally and provincially, allowed people to believe that their land titles were safe, over several decades, believing that their land title could not be challenged. That's number one. Number two, they're also citing economic and psychological duress and distress caused by the government because they were allowing themselves, or I shouldn't say allowing themselves, they were collecting fees and taxes on these properties and potentially at inflated property values. And they've been doing this for decades. Let's not forget that these negotiations, a lot of these land title disputes and discussions that have been happening, they've been happening since the late 1900s. My understanding is 1970, 1980s is when a lot of these were kind of coming to fruition. So the Crown must have known, did know that this was happening. And in fact, in many cases, like in the Cowichan case for sure, it was cited that they were not to advise private property title owners of what was happening in the background. That was literally a directive given to them that even if people were within land claim areas, private property owners shouldn't find out about it. And I wonder if part of the thought was thinking, well, this is all going to get swept under the rug. Let's not cause alarm. And so where we find ourselves today is there's no rug. Nothing got swept under any rug. It got put out in the open. And now you're seeing these land claims happening, right across the province and Lower Mainland as well. For example, Kamloops was the latest a couple of weeks ago. The entire city of Kamloops is subject to Indigenous land claim. Port Coquitlam and Coquitlam as well. Now, my understanding with Poco and Coquitlam, that is strictly for Crown lands, areas that are owned by the Crown. But as I've talked about before, these disputes are happening all over the place. We're just not privy to it. Now, I don't believe the government, the Crown, has actually been served yet, but the class action lawsuit has been filed at the Supreme Court. And it's not just for what's happening with the Cowichan case in Richmond. It's essentially opened up to anyone who may be affected by these land title disputes that are happening across the Lower Mainland and again across the province. So as I committed to you before when I did the last videos, I'm going to continue to keep you posted as we go along with what's happening surrounding that. Truthfully, it's not a topic that I love to talk about. Every time I put a video out on it, obviously people's opinions are conflicted and there's a lot of backlash back and forth, and sometimes I don't even read my direct messages, my DMs, the stuff that's coming through to me or the comments, because it can get pretty nasty. But I made a commitment that I'm going to keep you posted. It's obviously affects the world of real estate. So I'm going to continue to do that moving forward. But I do want to hop this over to talk about the real estate market and what's happening right now. As I film this, we're at the end of November. What I'm noticing in my world, and it's not just my world, I've been speaking with a lot of realtors as well, is there has been a pickup of sales activity happening over the last 2 or 3 weeks, predominantly and specifically north of the Fraser on the greater Vancouver side, where I do most of my work, Vancouver, Burnaby, New West a little bit, Coquitlam, but definitely a pickup in activity. I'm not just going off of my own world. I speak to agents literally every single day. We're communicating on what's happening out there. A bit of a surprising thing to happen again as we're closing off November. I find ever since the pandemic, the whole rhyme or reason behind, okay, spring is busy, summer is slow, fall gets busy, Christmas, December is slow. That kind of all got thrown out the window after pandemic. Things became the seasonality of real estate. While they adjust a bit, it's not as strong as it used to be in the past. And sometimes, you'll have a busy period in December, January. We'll jump out the gate busy like we did last year, or I should say this year, January 2025. We had a pretty strong January, so it's really hard to say, spring's going to be busy, it's going to be slow in summer. Having said that, I am talking to quite a few clients, both on the buy side, but also on the sell side that are, considering waiting until spring. So we're going to have kind of that thing that we usually have where it's, okay, how many more buyers are coming to the market versus how many more sellers and in what sort of areas. When I talk about markets picking up right now, markets that we're under a lot of duress and stress based on what has happened with the real estate market over the last couple of years. Brentwood condos, for instance, and the higher priced Brentwood condos starting to move and get activity. I just listed a Brentwood condo around $1 million, listed and sold in 4 days. And that it would not happen typically if we're looking back, even earlier this year and definitely into last year. I was speaking with an agent yesterday. She had, I think, 3 or 4 back-to-back showings on a condo over $1 million. So that's going to sell soon too. So we're starting to kind of see this movement happen, activity happen, open houses getting a little bit busier. Look, it's going to slow down as we head into December, which it always does. Exactly when, hard to say, but expect it to kind of slow down. We'll still be off of last year's November pace, and I think I've spoken about it before. Last year, November, our market was really gearing up towards having a very strong 2025. We had just come off of a few rate cuts at that time, and the market was really picking up steam. October, November, December a little bit, January, like I mentioned, and then of course things changed as we went through this year and trade war talk. But the market has picked up a little bit. There's kind of more activity happening at the ground level. A lot more buyers just having consultations done, and these are not people that are looking to invest in the market, at least from the people I'm speaking with. It's people that are making life changes, clients that are having babies, clients that are going through divorces. These types of things, they trigger activity in the market, whether the market is good or not, right? Whatever happens, happens. Oftentimes these clients, they'll reach out, they'll say, I need to make this move. How is the market? And if you tell them it's good, they're like, oh, great, I'm glad it's happening now. If you tell them it's not so strong, the answer is, well, I need to do this anyways. What's the strategy? What's the plan moving forward? Now, we do have one more Bank of Canada rate cut, or so I should say rate announcement, and unlikely actually to be a cut. That's on December 10th. Most economists are saying it's going to be a hold. Scotiabank is saying that their next move, the Bank of Canada's next move, and not necessarily in December, but that their next move is actually going to be a rate hike, citing inflationary pressures, saying that, inflation is just too sticky, it's too risky to continue a cutting cycle. Everything the Bank of Canada has said since, making their last rate announcement is they are gearing towards holding. They're basically saying, there's not much we can do with a rate that's going to fix systemic issues that are going on in the country. We're not going to be able to do that with monetary policy. So almost in a sense, don't get your hopes up. Don't think we're going to take rates back to how they were during pandemic and all of a sudden we're going to be fueling the economy because everyone wants to invest again. It's not going to happen. There's bigger issues behind the scenes. So it's sounding like it's going to be a rate hold December 10th. Of course, I will update you after that announcement. So we'll be back next week again talking about the market as we always do on Saturday mornings. If you wanted to chat about real estate again with me, you can book me for a call, or you can just give me a call, send me a text, shoot me an email, whatever works best for you. I'd love to chat with you, but I want to thank you so much for watching this week's video, and I look forward to seeing you next week.